twentythree has been on the rise for the past, I don't know, couple months, and his music has been taking over underground scene and going to the mainstream. It's been going viral on Instagram, on TikTok, and I think he's a biggest name in the underground right now. So I wanted to make a video on 23 type beats and how to make them. And just so happens that right now I'm working on the second version of one of our best-selling kits, Color. And if you don't know what that is, Color is basically a multi-kit for underground rap, underground music, and the first version was very focused on fake ming and Suzy Shear type of sound and new age electro clash and underground rap. And the second version is gonna be even more than that. It's gonna be, I don't know, think fake ming, Suzy Shear, 23, Lex Amarni, and everything that's been going on in the underground for the past year. But more about that later. If you want to check out the first version, link is in the description. And right now let's get into how to make 23 type beats. 23 type beats are very simple, and all you have to know about them are three pillars of 23 sound. And if you get those three things right, it's very easy to make those beats. So let's start with the first and I believe the most important part, which is a bass line. So you see, unlike a lot of underground artists, 23 isn't really using 808s and distorted 808 basses. He's often using synth, EDM, simple, plucky, clubby basses. And this is a bass line I came up with. This is how it sounds. If I had to give you some tips on how to make those catchy, clubby bass lines, I would say you need to stay within the first three notes of a minor scale, because that's where this clubby vibe really is. I also added this 6, I believe it's a 6. And this is the preset I made. The preset comes from Color Volume 2 that I'm currently working on. And it's basically a combination of Korg M1 organ bass and this typical 23 square bass. And I added those two macros so you can disable the square layer, for example, and then it's gonna be just an organ. And you can do the opposite, and it's gonna be just the square layer. And I'm not gonna go over everything that went into this preset because it's relatively complex. Oh, I split the FX rack for like two basses, and the first bass is for the organ layer, the second bass is for the square layer. There's nothing on the main bass. And this is the bass line I made. As you can see, it's very repetitive, and that's actually how most of 23 beats are. They are very repetitive, but this is what makes them catchy. Okay, so that was the first pillar, clubby, catchy, plucky bass, often using organ basses or square basses. The second thing that comes to mind when you think about 23 type beats is the lead. And I'm gonna show you how to make the exact lead sound 23 uses. For example, in his song Queen Street. In my case, in this beat, I actually used two leads and they play a call and response pattern. This is how they sound. The first lead is this classic saw 23 type lead, and the second one is this distorted beat crashed tag or lead. So I actually have two presets so far in Color that resemble this staple 23 sound. The first one I think is more accurate, and it's this lead. Basically, this is just two saw waves with some modifications, but two saw waves, a little bit of white noise, and the most important part is this reverb here. As you can see, we have the size and decay all the way down to almost 0%. And then we have mix over 50%, which makes the lead feel very in the background, very wet. And some other effects along that, but that's basically the sound. Now, in my beat, I used a slightly different sound. I changed the saw wave for this DX brass wavetable from Serum 2. I added some LFOs. I changed the noise to a different sample, but I added the same reverb with very little size, with no decay. It's like 0.8 seconds, and mix over 50%. And the preset is relatively simple, but that's what works for 23 type beats. Now the second preset is just this, two square waves with a lot of beat crash on them, and a cool delay to add something in the background. I've noticed that 23 uses a lot of creative delays in his beats, so keep that in mind for your next 23 type beat. So yeah, we have basics of the melody. This is like the core of 23 production, and this is how the bass and leads sound together. mentioned 3 pillars of 23 type beats. What's the third one? Well, if you haven't guessed already, it's the drum patterns. Again, unlike all the other underground artists that use basic trap patterns or modified alternative trap patterns, but still trap patterns in halftime with two-step hi-hats and everything, 23 uses this very 2010s club inspired drum pattern that often sounds like this. So the base of this drum pattern is the kick. On the first bar we only add one kick, and then on the second we add this like triplet kick that sounds like this. And this just creates this staple 23 groove. Another part is a clap or a snap with a bunch of reverb on it. And 23 also often adds chants to his drum loops, and I also did that. On the verses we have those chants. And that's it. If you're making this type of beats, you don't have to overcomplicate the drums. They are simple. The main thing is just to make them bouncy and groovy and fit with the bass line. I also added some smaller elements to this beat, like this bell in the background. And the notes just follow the bass line. I added it to kinda put something in the background because the beat was feeling kinda empty. And now shout out to Luca. I grabbed this vocal loop from his drum kit Sepia and I chopped it up, and this is also an element of the background in the beat. And I believe that's pretty much it. That's everything. We've covered everything. Remember about 3 pillars of 23 production. So catchy bass line, lead with a bunch of reverb and a catchy melody, and this groovy simple clap drum pattern. Now let's get back to Color Volume 2, because if you got version 1, you probably know that it was only a melody kit. Now for the Color Volume 2, I'm planning to also add some drums in there, so it's gonna basically be all you need for current underground trending music. And if you still haven't got the first version, I'm gonna put the link in the description. You can check it out there. And the second version is probably gonna come out next month. So stay tuned. We're gonna be showing you the process behind it as well in the next videos. And I guess that's all for today. Now let's listen to the full beat, and I'm just gonna see you in the next one.